is happening, everybody? Welcome in again to the Voice of Camp Nathaniel here, September the 1st, 2024, and we have got a lot going on campus here. Just in the next few days, we're going to talk all about that because we've got some guests in the studio with us. Stephen Bell with you, and with me is, are you ready?
I'm ready.
And I think you might actually know the definition of this one, or at least someone here at the table might.
Okay.
The clairvoyant, Lee Sharp.
The clairvoyant.
Do you know what clairvoyant means, Lee?
I feel like I have an idea, but
you've probably heard the word, right?
I've heard the word before, but now I'm not 100% on what it actually. This is one of those like when the teacher asks you, "Okay, now what's the answer?" and all of a sudden you're like, your brain just goes blank.
No, I get it. We've got some guests at the table. We'll introduce them here in a second. Either one of you know what clairvoyant means?
To see into the future?
Yeah, you can see. I can see into the future. I do not in any way think that Lee has the ability to see into the future.
I don't know if I want the ability to see into the future.
Probably not.
That's too much responsibility.
But we're going to talk a little bit about the future here in a little bit because we've got an event called Outdoor Ed coming up that we're really excited about. That happens here every single year. But we've got some guests in the studio with us today because it's a missionary highlight episode as well.
It is.
So we get to talk about stuff going on with Outdoor Ed. We get to highlight a couple of our missionaries here at Camp Nathaniel. And it's just gonna be a great show, man. Yeah. We love getting the opportunity to do this, and we have with us in the studio with us this morning, evening, noon, night, depending on when you're listening to this. That's the joy of podcasting. Whenever. We've got Rick and Cathy Franklin. How are you guys?
Good.
Great.
Glad to be here.
That is good. Now we called them up a little bit ago and said, hey, we'd like to do a missionary highlight with you guys because their story is quite an interesting story as it relates to how they got to camp. So we're gonna get to that here in just a second. But can we really quick talk about just real fast, kind of bleeding into this, kind of what outdoor ed is and what we get to do here on campus. Is that cool? Can we do that?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Certainly.
Good deal.
Go ahead, dear.
Well, outdoor ed is a program that camp started 30 some years ago, where we invite schools, public schools, any kind of school, any kind of educators to come to camp, and we will teach subject matter that are covered in the school system curriculum. So we can help the teachers reinforce some of the skills that they're teaching already in schools. And we just love having kids at camp. And we have about 200 school children a day.
Wow.
For 4 weeks and 2 days.
That is a lot.
Yes.
And it's a cheap field trip too. I mean, I think we put on a pretty good educational program.
Right.
It's interesting. Workshops last 12 to 15 minutes maximum.
10 per day. But we have a 6-year rotation of themes. Like last year, we studied all about trees. And so we reinforced the tree topic that science teachers are teaching in their school system. This year, we're studying about pioneers and what life was like in the 1800s. And this whole campus is going to be just a living museum.
I love Pioneer Days.
Oh, it's so fun.
It is.
It
I
is
mean,
so fun.
I've still not been here long enough to get to experience all 6 of these in rotation, but we did the condensed version of Pioneer Days kind of coming out of COVID a few years ago.
Yes.
And I never knew how fun stacking hay could be.
Yeah.
Steven, you're just excited to wear a vest and run around with a pitchfork.
I really am. That's really what it boils down to.
Pretend he's
for
the
me.
guy from Green Acres.
That's right. All right. So now I say in regards to outdoor ed, by the way, if you're listening to this and you're a school educator, administrator, and you want to get your classes involved in this, is there opening at all?
There are a few.
There are a few. There are a few.
There are a few days that I can hold up to 80 kids.
Cathy.Franklin at campnathaniel.org. And that's Cathy with a C.
Cathy.Franklin at Camp Nathaniel, AEL, the spelling there in Nathaniel at the end.org.
Right. And if you can't remember that, call Camp Nathaniel and they'll give you the email or our phone number.
That's right. So great ways to get involved, plugged in here at camp. Now, the reason why I wanted us to start talking about outdoor ed, because that outdoor ed really has a play in your all's overall story of how you came here to Camp Nathaniel.
It did.
Does it not?
Yes,
so,
it does.
And we don't have to start there. So So Lee, how about we just
kind
of
background? Yeah.
Let's kind of hand this over to the Franklins.
How did you all get to camp?
Because the name Franklin is a pretty big name around here. Okay,
it goes back to 1932. Rick, tell the story.
Yeah, my grandfather Garland Franklin was born here in Knott County in 1904, and then left, became a Christian, went to Wheaton College, went to Northern Baptist Seminary, pastored a church in Glen Ellen, Illinois, and then God called him back down here, and he couldn't say no to God. Came down here in 1932, met a bunch of single women that were missionaries this area too, and started the Kent Nathaniel ministry. Yeah. So as a kid, I came down here in the 1960s. Never actually came to camp as a camper, but came and swam in the pool, walked around, walked the swinging bridge, stayed at my grandparents' stone house down the road from camp. So yeah, this place has all had a special place in my heart. But here's the crazy thing. 39 years ago, we were missionaries in Costa Rica, and Cathy's oldest brother, who was a missionary medical doctor with SIM in Liberia, Africa, was on furlough. And he was visiting us, another family down in Costa Rica. And I asked him, what were you doing on your furlough? He goes, well, the last thing we did before we came down here was we have a friend that we support, and he just became director of a mission. And I said, what does the mission do? And he goes, well, it's a camp, but they also go to schools. And I said, wow, that sounds a lot like Kent Nathaniel. And he goes, he reacted like I had slapped him. He goes, how do you know about Kent Nathaniel? That is in the middle of nowhere. I said, well, I know about it because my grandfather started it. He goes, what? I said, yeah. I said, so what else did you do when you were down here? And he goes, well, he just moved into a house that needed a little bit of fix up. And so we were painting some windows and stuff. So I went out on a limb and I said, stone house with a little stone fence in front and 2 big pine trees at the time in front of it. And then he's like, how in the world do you know that? I go, that's my grandfather's house. I went there as a kid. So the story behind it all was Steve Beefus, Cathy's older brother, and Roy Hodson went to Wheaton College together. They did student missionary project together. And so they were assigned to be co-presidents their senior year to encourage students to go to SMP the next summer. And they worked together, and when Roy came to Kent Nathaniel to work full-time, Cathy's brother and his wife, Sue, had started supporting him.
Wow.
So that's why they were down here visiting Kent Nathaniel. So years later, we were going to drive from Wheaton, Illinois to Norfolk, Virginia, and I looked at a map, and I realized Kent Nathaniel is halfway to Norfolk, Virginia. And I said, let's go by and meet this Roy Hodson guy and see what camp is like these days. So we did. We got here on a Thursday night, and Friday morning, we were invited to stick around a little while and watch this outdoor education program. And there was a horse trainer from Ohio. He brought a horse, and he blindfolded the horse, and he talked about how the horse learns to trust the voice of the horse trainer. And he demonstrated how the horse would follow him everywhere, even though it was blindfolded, because it trusted him.
Horses.
It
was amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We still remember most of the sermon. It was so powerful.
Wow.
I'm looking around going, 120 public school kids here. This is really cool. And we already joined a mission. We were going to go to Budapest, Hungary. Like, too bad we're going to Budapest is what I remember thinking. Long story short, God started closing doors with this mission. We were going to go to Budapest, and we're like, God, what are you doing? And then it became rather obvious that God was calling us down here. And now
we're in charge of the outdoor ed program.
in charge of that
So
program.
cool.
We saw that morning that so impressed us. Yeah, and we just love it. And it's obvious that God intended us to be here.
And it's a mission that we used both of our giftedness.
Yes.
In Budapest, Rick would have been a counselor, and then I would have been home alone with the kids. But this way, we raised all our 6 kids within the mission, and they were all very much a part of everything that we did. So, yeah.
So were any of your kids born before you guys came here?
All of 6
All
of them.
All of them were, okay.
Ellie
Was 5 months old when we
Ellie
moved
was 5
here.
months
Wow,
old when
okay.
we moved here. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good deal.
So David was in 5th grade.
5th grade.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you guys came in one of your first, which you'd already known about it because, of course, Garland Franklin, one of the founders of the mission here in 1932, your grandfather.
Right.
All right. So, and then you end up, Cathy's brother ends up supporting Roy Hodson, part of his support team, he and Debbie's support team here.
Yeah.
And then you guys
end up here.
We end up here.
Only God could have orchestrated that.
Really, though.
Truly.
Yeah, we talk about God stories and stuff. You were just, we don't have to go into detail. You were just sharing one with me this morning over the phone of just this past weekend with you guys.
Yep.
So it just continues to go to show you how God is so intricately involved in every single area of our life to bring us to where He wants us to be, and that's the one thing that I absolutely love about these missionary highlight episodes, because we hear those stories in every single one of these.
And they're all God stories.
That's right. That's right.
We're just not usually always aware of all the details.
No, we're certainly not, and we get the opportunity to hear stories that we've never heard before, and turn that around to give praise to God.
There is another story that's so cool, because when we were here for that Friday morning for outdoor ed, our kids did the whole rotation. Hayride. And then...
Wait, when was this?
This is...
When we were here like 29 years ago.
Was this your first exposure?
It was our first exposure to outdoor ed at Camp Nathaniel in like 35 years. Yeah.
So then we were looking at pictures just not too long ago.
A couple years ago.
And we see a picture of our kids on a hayride. And lo and behold, there's Vicki Sloan was on the hayride with our kids. And Rick is now pastoring the church that Vicki Sloan's family helped start.
Right.
It's just so ironic that...
So we asked Vicki, we showed her the picture. Is that you? She goes, yep, that's me. I was there with Car Creek Elementary. We're like, what are the odds?
I know. Of all the kids that were here, there was Vicki with my kids on a hayride.
Wow. And then fast forward to today, Vicki, a very faithful member of the church that
I pastor.
that Rick pastors, and just everything coming full circle, man. So now tell us a little bit more. I mean, obviously we've talked a lot about outdoor ed and your all's involvement there. What else? Where else have you guys been used by God throughout the mission over the years?
Well, I'll start with me, because I'm a mother of 6 children, and I homeschooled all my kids from the time they were born until the time they went to high school. So that I spent most of my time involved in raising and teaching my children.
But you also on the way to get involved in outdoor ed.
Yes, for sure. I'm an educator, and so I used my giftedness there, and so it was really fun to have them do school and also be part of ministry.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I'm involved in Perry County in going into the schools, telling the character education stories, and loving doing that. I also used to go to Perry Central, and at lunchtime, they would allow me to come in and just kind of connect with kids that we knew through the Camp Nathaniel summer camps, and or just through visiting them in the schools, and just had a time to encourage them. So that's probably the next biggest area.
And then camp, we were all involved in camp.
Summer camp. Yeah, program director.
Right. Bible teachers.
All
our kids were counselors. And
yeah,
so it was fun.
Lifeguards. I think 5 of our 6 kids were lifeguards. Right.
That's a lot of lifeguards.
That's a lot of lifeguards. That's right.
Coming off a summer as summer camp director, I was like, okay, that's a good haul right there. Coming from one household anyway. Now you guys have had a very big impact in the married couples retreat.
Oh yeah,
over the years. I think we had talked about that on a previous episode with you guys back before.
We love doing dramas because of their real life.
And it is one of the my wife Ashley and I talk to this day of all the things that we remember coming to married couples retreats over the years. Those dramas stand out as some of the most impactful things we've ever heard, and because they're real, man.
They are real. It doesn't take a lot of acting.
No, we're not. Yeah, we're not really acting. We're just reenacting.
So funny.
So I'll ask real quick, because you all said that you were down in Costa Rica finding out about camp again. How did you end up in Costa Rica?
Good question.
Yeah, well, Cathy was actually raised in Puerto Rico from like age 2 or 3.
4 to 11.
4 to 11.
Oh, wow.
Right? And so she kind of knew some Spanish. And your youth group went to the camp, Steve. Remember years ago?
Yes. The first mission trip that I led as youth pastor at Heinemann.
Yeah.
We went to a camp in Puerto Rico, and it was the same camp
the same property my father bought for the
and the camp
insane.
Started. I know.
Insane.
The number of connections that just happened.
I know. It's crazy, right?
Right. So Cathy, and then also after Cathy graduated from Wheaton, she taught for 2 years in Honduras in Tegucigalpa at the school there. And so she already had an interest she knew Spanish fairly well. And her dad was starting a ministry down in Costa Rica, and he invited any of his family members to come down and help start a school. And we were at a point in our lives where we could do that. And we had always been interested in missions. And so we did. We went down there. I didn't know a lick of Spanish.
Got some funny stories about that.
Did you learn some while you were there?
I did learn some. I actually preached and taught in Spanish, so I got better.
Wow.
But yeah, so there's a lot of words in English and Spanish that are similar. Telephone, teléfono, carro. And so I was trying to say I'm really embarrassed because I knew I had said something wrong already. So I said, estoy muy embarazado, which I thought was I am very, very embarrassed.
But
Embarazado does not mean embarrassed.
so I said is se parece. That means that it looks like it, but because it means I'm very pregnant.
So, wait, you said this when you were preaching?
No, I was preaching.
Group of people.
Fortunately, not that. Although I did make some mistakes preaching it as well.
Oh man,
No, I
did
was
he
talking
ever?
to a bunch of ladies, adult ladies, and I said, I am very
I'm
pregnant.
very pregnant.
And they started laughing, and Kathy goes, yeah, you look like
is.
it. And I go, wait a second. What did I say? You didn't? I started to say I'm embarrassed. She goes,
So
no.
what was the reaction then? That's what I want to know.
Huge laughter.
Lots of laughter. Yeah.
So it's one of those moments where you knew immediately, I did not say that correctly.
yes. Yeah. So, lots of fun learning stories.
What you thought you said came to fruition.
Yes, I did truly
so
become
embarrassed.
very embarrassed because I said I was very pregnant. Yeah, right. Yep. But
wow.
no, it was a good experience down there. We made a lot of friends at Costa Rica. We helped start a school that is going strong today.
Very.
Fantastic.
And in fact, one of our daughters just got married, and she honeymooned in Costa Rica. And
Two of our children were born there, which
That's
is
right.
cool.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
they're
wow.
Costa Rican. Yeah.
Zach and Brianna were born there.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
awesome. I didn't
Yeah.
realize that. I didn't realize
Yeah.
that both of them were born there.
Yeah, so very good experience. Forgotten a lot of my Spanish, but still able to use it at the Mexican restaurants.
Of course. Yes. That's
His nickname here is Mr. Good Looking, but in the Spanish restaurant, it's always Don Guapo. People know him as Don Guapo.
which means
Mr. Yeah.
Mr.
Mr. Good looking.
Yeah, there's a certain person at Sazon likes to call me Don Feo, which means Mr. Not very
Ugly.
good looking or Mr. Ugly. That's a joke.
Mr. Ugly.
Yes.
Maybe it's not so much a joke.
I've only,
Right? Come
punched,
on.
I've only punched him twice. No, just kidding. Actually, I love him dearly.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Okay, so we've talked a lot about Outdoor Red when we've gotten things rolling here, and we've gotten into your all's story a little bit, and which again is just kind of blows my mind when you start tying everything together in order to bring you guys back here, and the fact that when you came back here, the first kind of exposure that you got was Outdoor Ed, and
Yeah.
so how long then I can't remember if we mentioned this or not. How long have you guys been over the Outdoor Ed program?
Over it? What, 6,
I think
7
11 years,
11 years?
2013.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was our first year. Yeah, but I want to recognize Bob and Carol Murr.
They started
Because
it.
what a great
Right.
couple. What Carol was the vision behind it, and Bob just got joined with her, and she started small, and it's just grown, and it's just it's really Carol's vision
Right.
and her educational background.
And listen, we're talking about, in depth, just immersive program that we have here. We Camp Nathaniel gets most known for summer camp ministry, obviously, but outside of summer camp ministry, this is really the largest on-campus ministry that happens here, no doubt.
Yeah.
And the thing is that we could never do this program without the volunteers that come in, because many of the full-time staff at Camp Nathaniel are in their schools already.
right, they're doing
So
the education.
the
right?
education that happens are retired teachers and retired people who invest a week of their, or maybe more of their life, just
Yeah, we have
helping us.
We have volunteers from all over.
I
Illinois,
cannot
Indiana,
appreciate them enough.
Ohio, North Carolina, South Carolina.
Everywhere.
Yeah, and it's truly a joy to see them every year.
Yeah, they're become some of our best friends.
They've come.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And,
it's just so fun. When you do hard things together with people, there's a closeness that you just can't get anywhere else.
Yeah.
So,
And it amazes me how in a 6-year rotation of this going on, how many props and
Oh, my
the
word.
things that we have that you never see outside of that next 6th year that kind of rolls around. And then I show up after a week of vacation at the end of summer. I show up, and then all of a sudden I look around. I'm like, How did this happen?
1800s, all of a sudden.
How did this happen? It's
a lot of
crazy.
setup.
And it's all
It's a ton.
volunteers.
It's all volunteers.
All volunteers. Another crazy story, real quick. Kathy's older brother, Rick Beefus, is an educator, and he's retired now. And he lives in Holland, Michigan, and he was out walking his dog, and he ran into someone else that was walking his dog, and they started talking. This person has been a volunteer at Camp Nathaniel for like 10 years, but stopped coming 3 or 4 years ago for health reasons. And they started talking in about 45 minutes of conversation. This volunteer goes, "Wait, are you Cathy Franklin's brother?" And he hesitated because he wasn't sure if he wanted to admit
a good thing
that.
or not.
Is that a good thing or not?
Shame on my brother.
But this is the fact they connected.
Yeah.
And we've been trying to invite Kathy's brother for years to come.
Well, next year's program is all about the scientific method. And my brother Rick, he's developed this program to teach a scientific method using white powders. And so I just made the program mega. Instead of for a classroom of 30, we do 200. And so I've been telling my brother forever, you have to come and see your program in action at Camp Nathaniel. So he ran into the guy that loved the program, and I think he's coming back. I think they're coming next year. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I know.
No, I'm doing air quotes, through a random, and there is nothing random in God's kingdom,
It's
right?
all providential.
A random, run into. The volunteer said to Rick, he says, "Hey, one of my favorite programs is the white powder program. Do you know that one?" And Rick had to say, "I kind of developed that program myself."
Oh, wow.
For a classroom setting. Anyway.
Oh man! So we've got volunteers on campus as we are recording this. They are here. Some of them are going to be here for how long?
Well, a set came for the entire time, and that's very unusual.
Wow.
Usually, volunteers come for a week or two, but this group that's here now are staying to the 5th of October.
5th.
Wow!
Yeah, it's
Bless
wonderful.
their hearts. Yeah.
So we are going to we are going to have an absolutely awesome time over the course of the next 5 weeks. As we have hundreds of kids coming onto this camp. You said
No, 3,100 already registered.
thousands of kids.
You needed an extra 0 on the end there.
Oh goodness, hundreds per day. All right,
That's right.
There you go.
Hundreds per day coming onto this
So
campus.
sign up soon because there's just a few spots. But
Over 3,000 already registered.
I think the last 2019, I think we had 4,200 public school students, and then like a couple hundred parents
before COVID.
before COVID.
Was that the largest we've ever
it's
had?
really big, yeah.
I think so.
So obviously after COVID we're picking back up now.
Yeah,
we're starting to grow grow this thing again. So hey, it's not only during the day. We're going to get ready to wrap things up and kind of close this out here within the next few minutes. But you may be listening to this wondering, well, I mean, we got all these school kids coming in to learn all of this and to experience this field trip and outdoor education here on campus. But what is it for? What is it for? We got something for families going on, don't we? That it's not during the day. You can, because we know parents work. They can't get here during the day with their kids.
So mark on your calendar.
Here we go.
September 24th. It's a Tuesday.
September 24th.
Tuesday, 5:30. There's a free dinner. It's going to be all Pioneer scheduled. Pioneer food, maybe, I hope. And then you're going to experience some of the classes in brief form.
Pioneer food. I like
Pioneer
that.
food.
I think beans when I think of Pioneer food. I'm sorry, maybe that's not the right thing to think, but we'll see. We don't know yet.
We'll see what happens. We
It'll
don't know.
be good.
We might have
Nathaniel
we
food.
might have a few more spices than the Pioneers did.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. But then your family gets to walk around. Kathy will put you in different groups.
You get to go through the whole program.
Pretty much.
Right? Yeah,
Pretty
pretty
much.
much.
In a
everything but-
small version.
Well, a slightly condensed version.
Yes,
That's true. Yeah,
exactly.
that's true.
'Cause we don't have all day.
That's true. Yeah, because these kids who are here during the day, they are here all day. It's an all day field trip.
Yeah,
it's
it's
amazing.
9:15 to 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then on Tuesday night of this family event, we're going to have an elderly gentleman who was born and raised in the mountains here, and he makes his own dulcimers, and he's going to be playing his dulcimer and
That he has made.
He's made. So that's part of the entertainment too.
Fantastic, awesome. So again, and that's entirely free.
It's
charge.
totally free.
No charge. That includes the meal and the experience.
Entertainment, yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So entirely free. Again, 5:30. That's when the meal will be served. 5:30 on Tuesday, September the 24th, right here on the campus of Camp Nathaniel. So don't
And if
miss.
you can't make it at 5:30, I mean, you can come whenever. We'll plug you in.
Right.
You may not be able to have supper if you come at 6:30, but
Right.
regardless, you can still plug in and we'll get you in the rotation and stuff.
Awesome. You can find out. Hey, make sure you're following Camp Nathaniel on Facebook. If you're not doing that, you can stay up to date with everything going on there. You can check us out online, campnathaniel.org. Again, that is Camp Nathaniel ending in AEL.org. Please stay focused on everything coming up and how you can be involved with it, how you and your entire family. Make sure hype it up for your kids, because you may find out that they're going to be traveling here with their classroom, man. Ask them about it. It's going to be exciting. Rick and Cathy, thank you guys so much for jumping in with us today.
Thank you. It's been
You're
fun.
welcome.
Yes,
My pleasure.
indeed. Lee, you got anything, man?
Guys, if you had fun hanging out with us today and you know other people in the area that maybe they want to come to the events and hang out, share. Hit like, subscribe, all the different things there.
All that good stuff that
or-
we have to do in regards to promoting a podcast, right?
Promoting, all the promotional things you say at the end. But
That's
then
right.
there's also if you people that maybe you think maybe they want to come volunteer, or they want to come ask about like, hey, what is volunteering? Look, maybe not this year, and you're like, ooh, I don't know if I can do it this year, but I want to go find out. By all means, contact us, get in hold of us. We can get you all the details about volunteers that are staying here on campus, some of them for a very long time, and all the
listen,
things that come into that. So,
and outdoor ed is one of those huge areas where we need volunteers, but there are places where volunteers can serve at Camp Nathaniel all throughout the year.
Yes.
All right. Obviously, summer camp, outdoor ed, but there are tons of things going on. We got work groups coming in. If you got a group that want to come in and help do some stuff around campus, there's so many opportunities for people, for local churches, for pastors, all your people. Get people involved. Get them here on campus and see what God's doing here. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Guys, thanks again for joining us.
You're welcome. Thanks for inviting us.
Lee,
yeah, we'll hang out with y'all again in a couple weeks.
anything from your clairvoyance? Was that your clairvoyance coming through right there?
The clairvoyance is hopefully we're going to have another podcast here in a couple weeks.
Wow.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Clairvoyant he is.
I know.
I'm impressed.
Came full circle.
Oh, see, that's what we do. Guys, have a great week, and we'll see you back here on the 15th.